It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Good morning. I'm Greg Bishop with you. A little late start to this morning, but we've got tons to tackle. So I thank you for being with us. Back in the remote rig and a few audio things I need to continue to hash out to be able to just plug in and go. But clearly, it was a long day yesterday. It's going to be a long day today at the Illinois State Capitol with the final day of fall veto session today. And they're still waiting to pull the trigger on which tax to increase to fund mass transit. But we also have a pension bill that's advancing. Some say it's going to increase the cost to property taxpayers. Plus, we've got a little talk about energy, that a measure passed the House last night. Supporters of it say it's going to help with energy costs and reliability. Opponents say it's going to increase costs and make things less reliable. Plus, a little talk about trade, all of that right here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Go to thecentersquare.com where you can sign up for the newsletter and you can see the latest headlines, not just out of Illinois, but also out of Washington, D.C. and beyond. President Donald Trump meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping and coming to an agreement on some things, so we'll obviously hear a lot more about that coming up here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Again, join the live chat. It's always buzzing. People recognizing the new music. That's just the remote rig music. Again, I got a lot more I've got to do after session. I think I'm going to spend some time in the mobile rig to get it set up and ready to go for a nice background and get all the music and everything we need where it needs to be. So very much looking forward to that. But I appreciate you guys being here. Even with the late start, we've got tons to tackle. So stay tuned right here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Each and every weekday morning here with the Center Square.
It includes a statewide amusement tax at 7%, a targeted RTA sales tax at 0.25%, a billionaire tax, speed cameras and safety zones authorization for municipalities, and a large event ticket surcharge at $5.
There are things like what you're calling a billionaire's tax that is really, it's a tax on unrealized capital gains. Never been done before. Never been done before by any state, never been done by the federal government.
So when I'm sitting here thinking about, in my community, Granite City works, and is U.S. Steel going to invest there or not, I need them to have those immediate tax benefits. I can't give them 5 years when other states are giving them immediate tax benefits. Like, it is that desperate. We are desperately trying to save manufacturing in Granite City. And
just some of the conversation yesterday at the Illinois State House as we get into Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you live this morning after a long day yesterday, and it's expected to be a long day today with the final day of fall veto session. Are you going to wake up and find out that your taxes are increasing? You're going to wake up and find out that we're going to have more reliance on renewable energy like battery storage and wind and solar. You're going to wake up and find out that maybe the state's Tier 2 pension system is going to somewhat revert back to Tier 1, increasing the cost to not just state but local taxpayers as well. All of that,
according to a report issued by the governors
in Springfield, where you've got a lot going on. So let's jump into it. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning. The day started off with the Illinois Revenue Alliance talking about what they say was the need for progressive revenue, and in particular, you've got Erin Coleman Branshawd. She is a pastor of St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Logan Square, and she spelled out why she thinks that the state needs to increase taxes on certain individuals across the state.
According to a report issued by the Governor's Office of Management and Budget, will cost Illinois over $830 million this year. That's $830 million in lost funds for our communities, unless the General Assembly takes action.
Now, what are some of those actions she wants the General Assembly to take? Well, tax increases.
We need to raise revenue from the wealthiest in our state who are profiting off of these attacks. Right. and we need to take steps to do so immediately.
So taking those steps immediately, she says, with the final day now today of fall veto session. What is that going to look like? Others were there, part of the Illinois Revenue Alliance.
ICER is proud to stand with our fellow members of the Illinois Revenue Alliance to say that here in our state, we have the opportunity to make the brave decisions. Not the tough ones to cut the programs, but the brave decisions to tax the rich, tax the billionaire, so they could pay their fair share in this moment and onwards. Because right now in veto session, the General Assembly has the choice to go the opposite direction of the Trump administration, and they must do so.
So what is that going to look like, though? Again, this is the Illinois Revenue Alliance, a group of activists wanting to change state tax law. They say to get more money, and they say it's in response to the Trump administration's efforts in limiting dollars to states like Illinois. Another individual with the Illinois Revenue Alliance, part of the Workers Center for Racial Justice, sharing some thoughts, and also a mantra that this group has of tax the rich.
So we, the Illinois Revenue Alliance, are here to say enough is enough. We are here to say no money for the bears. Let me say it again. No money for the bears. Feed Chicago babies, not the Chicago Bears. Fund Chicago babies, not the Chicago Bears. We're calling on Governor Pritzker to lead the charge to tax the rich in Illinois, making sure that wealthy corporations and the ultra-rich pay their fair share. It is time for our state legislators to pass legislation to decouple our state structure from the federal one. So the ultra wealthy cannot double dip on federal tax breaks. It is time for our local and state governments to ensure that the people of Illinois have accessible, guaranteed income so residents can strive, not barely survive. If Illinois taxed the ultra-rich and wealthy, we could generate over $6 billion in revenue to support programs like SNAP, guaranteed income, housing, transit, education, and support for formerly incarcerated people, and ensure that Illinois can genuinely be a place that families can call home. So Governor Pritzker, the solution is simple: decouple Illinois and tax the rich. When I say tax the rich, you say rich. Tax the rich, tax the rich.
So this is just a group. It's not lawmakers. They're there talking about, quote, progressive revenue. But what are some of the revenue ideas that lawmakers are proposing? We've heard in May the Senate passed a bill to fund mass transit's fiscal cliff. At that time, it was thought to be $700+ million. And the Illinois Senate passed a bill that included a $1.50 retail delivery tax. Well, now the House, which didn't want to advance that one, they proposed their own set of taxes to fund mass transit in the state of Illinois.
It includes a statewide amusement tax at 7%, a targeted RTA sales tax at 0.25%, a billionaire tax, speed cameras and safety zones authorization for municipalities, and a large event ticket surcharge at $5. There's also some discussion about an investment in capital as well.
So what's that going to do? Ultimately, you're going to see possibly tax increases on streaming services, and again, increased sales taxes in some areas. All of this, they say, to generate $1.5 billion for mass transit. Delgado holding a news conference after the fact, saying that this is different from the Senate because
I think there was a lot of concern in our communities about a $1.50 retail delivery tax. And so we had to come up with something that we thought was a balanced approach and that it was sustainable long term. And
balanced
that's what we
approach
have.
being a series of taxes. Governor J.B. Pritzker asked about this yesterday in Taylorville for an unrelated event, and he seemed to throw cold water on these ideas. Here's the governor.
I think there's a whole lot of work that the legislature still needs to do. As you know, when you come up with a new idea, it's got to be run through the Department of Revenue to figure out how you might go about collecting the tax or what it would actually yield. And so anticipate that work will be done. There are things like what you're calling a billionaire's tax that is really, it's a tax on unrealized capital gains. It's never been done before. Never been done before by any state, never been done by the federal government. So once again, you got to do a whole lot of work before you can pass a bill that, if you don't even know how it would work or whether you could actually collect on it.
Once again is going to be the process. We've got 1 day left. So you've got competing proposals that are on the table here. One, the Senate's already passed for the $1.50 retail delivery tax to fund mass transit, and another one that the House has for streaming services tax, tax increases on sales on a variety of areas, and a billionaires tax and such, red light camera taxes. Here's the governor being asked more.
Is that something you support?
No.
And how do you think that will look? How do you think increasingly Democratic voters in the suburbs will take that, since they would be paying for it?
It's a bad idea. We've had so many problems with speed cameras in this state. There's been corruption around them. Honestly, I think we need to take a pause.
What about the amusement entertainment tax?
Look, I mean, we could go through the whole bunch of things. As you know, the Senate passed a bunch of things last May. This one's passed. I mean, this isn't, as it is, it's not going forward. There's got to be a lot of discussion between the House and the Senate in order to come up with a final bill, because it isn't going to look like what the House has put forward.
And again, a lot of discussion on the final day of session. So which is it going to be? Is it going to be this tax increase, or is it going to be this tax increase? Somebody shared with me an interesting story that they had about being an intern somewhere, and then somebody came in afterwards and they felt that they weren't a good intern, but the intern that followed was worse, and it made them look good, and it made me think about, well, are we given, two options here, tax increase or tax increase, and it's the choice between two tax increases. Which one looks better to legislators? Is it going to be the $1.50 retail tax, or is it going to be the billionaires tax, the streaming services tax, the red light camera fees, the sales tax increase? Which is it going to be? Even the labor was a little bit thrown off by just the ongoing back and forth here. Governor Pritzker, again, seeming to throw cold water on it. Tim Dre, president of the AFL-CIO, held a brief gaggle with reporters yesterday, and, he was a little surprised.
And what kind of conversations have
It
you
was
had?
unexpected, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it, but we've been so focused on the House bill that, that in the spring we talked, we worked with the governor's office in both chambers to do the reforms, and we were very, very successful. As you notice, nobody's really talking about the reforms that we put together. It's all about the revenue. So it seems to me that we should just all sit down again and talk about revenue, because the reforms mean nothing without the money. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, the reforms and the money go hand in hand.
So Republicans have been opposing tax increases without the reforms. Democrats are saying we can do both. And the reforms at RTA, CTA, Metra, trying to unify things, make them more streamlined, find efficiencies, these types of things, with Republicans questioning where's all the money gone that they've already been given? Why do we need to give more money to something that's not managing those tax dollars properly? So again, that's one issue, and today's the final day of fall veto session. I'm hoping they don't go into the early morning hours Friday. But you've got the debates about how they're going to pull this off. Is it going to be this set of tax increases or this set of tax increases? We'll find out by the end of session. But something else that they're advancing is looking to decouple Illinois tax code from the federal tax code. And there's a lot of concern here. You have the Illinois Federation, the Taxpayers Federation, testifying in front of a House committee yesterday about this proposal to decouple.
Right. Again, I'm Maurice Schulten, Taxpayers Federation of Illinois. First, I just want to thank Leader Tarver for the inclusion of the SALT, making the SALT workaround permanent. That's a change that will allow a lot of small businesses here in Illinois to pay less federal taxes, so they can keep that money here rather than sending it to the federal government. So again, thank you for that. However, we are opposed to the GILTI to NCI change. We are opposed to including NCTI income into Illinois' corporate base income, the corporate income tax base, which is both unfair and unconstitutional. The U.S. Constitution limits the state's taxing power to income earned in or connected to Illinois. This change, without a change to this taxpayer's apportionment factor, this is now again including this foreign income into the tax base. This is income that is earned, profits are earned overseas, they're being taxed by foreign governments due to foreign activity. and including that income in Illinois' tax base is an overreach, and it discourages global companies from maintaining operations at headquarters in our state.
So it says that this decoupling would be an overreach and would discourage investment in growing businesses in Illinois. You had State Representative Will Guzzardi, a Democrat from Chicago, pushing back on this idea that decoupling would harm the states.
Generally speaking, with some potential minor changes, it's net revenue neutral to the state over time and net neutral to the businesses over time. It's just like, as you described it, a timing question as to when the deductions can be taken. Okay. And then just as a point of information, and maybe you have more detail on this than I do, but I think Michigan and Rhode Island have already decoupled from this provision as well as other provisions in the HR 1.
Now, that idea of other states are doing it, so Illinois should. That's something that the Tax Foundation, not the Taxpayers Federation of Illinois, but the Tax Foundation has said will make Illinois less competitive. Because, say, if Indiana keeps the tax code similar to what the Trump administration got through Congress, then it's going to make Indiana more competitive than Illinois. And if other states surrounding us don't decouple and Illinois does, then it could harm the state's competitiveness for businesses. Guzzardi went on, though, to talk about how he says this is not as bad as they say.
The point I'm trying to make is I don't think that we're the only state in the nation considering doing this. I think other states have already done it, and many others will continue to do so. And that this ultimately, it's not as though the business isn't going to be able to take the value of this credit. It's just a question of when the value is going to apply. So
now, Amy Ellick, a Republican from Alton, she said that her businesses in her district, big manufacturers, small businesses, they need these tax benefits now, not 5 years down the road.
So when I'm sitting here thinking about in my community, Granite City works, and is U.S. Steel going to invest there or not? I need him to have those immediate tax benefits. I can't give them 5 years when other states are giving them immediate tax benefits. Like, it is that desperate. We are desperately trying to save manufacturing in Granite City. And so when I look at these decoupling things, I do think about those large employers and those large manufacturers and those large businesses of all sorts, but I also think about the medium-sized manufacturers or the medium-sized businesses that employ people in all of our districts and even our small businesses. So anytime that we take away and make us an outlier, we are absolutely hurting business. So I would strongly urge my colleagues, when you're thinking about these provisions,
and she says they need to consider big and small businesses alike. All right, so which tax increase is it going to be for transit? Tax increase A, B, and C, or tax increase E, F, and G? And then the decoupling. How's that going to impact Illinois' business climate? Obviously, we'll be tracking this today, the final day of fall veto session. So wake up with us tomorrow. We'll see how much energy I have and how late they go or early into the morning they go. But we'll have it all. Go to thecentersquare.com.
It makes sure that we are in compliance with the state.
Illinois has $140 billion of unfunded pension liability, according to the states. But if you have some different credit rating agencies out there review this, they say it's $200 billion or $300 billion. Illinois has the worst pension situation among states when it comes to the funding ratios for state employees and teachers and so on. But could they possibly look to enhance pensions more? It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Final day of the State House, and a pension reform measure is advancing, but it's not lowering the cost to taxpayers. There's warnings it's going to increase the cost to taxpayers. I'm Greg Bishop. Go to thecentersquare.com, get the latest headlines, and wake up with us here for Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, let's get to an Illinois House committee where Democratic State Representative Jay Hoffman presented a pension bill that takes Tier 2 pensioners and changes the benefits that the legislature approved back in 2011. That was challenged in court. Some things upheld, some things not. But the Tier 2 has less benefits in retirement than Tier 1. So anybody hired after 2011, they're in Tier 2 and they get lesser benefits whenever they do retire. Here we are with...
In compliance with the safe harbor issues regarding the federal government. It's my understanding that currently SURS and possibly SERS is in violation of safe harbor, and that needs to be addressed in that it's going to cause significant financial burden to the state of Illinois. It also addresses the cost of living adjustment. What it would do is it would increase to 3% simple per year. Currently, under Tier 2, it is 3% or half of the change in the consumer index. That's not fair in that their pensions simply do not keep up with inflation.
And Hoffman pushing for this, State Representative Stephanie Kiffa, we'll hear from in a moment, pushing for it as well. But municipal advocates like the Illinois Municipal League and others, they warned that this is merely going to not only increase taxes on state taxpayers, but local taxpayers.
Municipalities have analyzed SB 1937 and found that benefit enhancements would permanently and significantly increase taxpayer costs. Among the Northwest Municipal Conference members, we estimate that taxpayers will need to contribute an additional $18 to $35 million just in the first year alone. In some communities, local taxpayers could face the equivalent of a 10% property tax increase to fund the pension benefit increases proposed in Senate Bill 1937.
Now, Illinois already has among the highest, I think now we've surpassed New Jersey, and we have the highest property taxes in the country. So this would not just change retirement benefits for state employees, it would change retirement benefits for local public employees. Stephanie Kifowitz saying it's needed.
The issue here is not the benefits. It is not the benefits. The benefits payment is about $2 billion. The issue here is the unfunded liability. And so we have laid out a plan to pay for that. We have laid out a plan that is fiscally responsible.
Now, this all, again, has been debated, and questions about the unfunded liability, how to address that, pushes to change the state constitution, not materializing at the State House, but State Representative Stephen Reich upset.
Well, I'm going to say, as the spokesman on the pension committee, I'm somewhat flummoxed by the fact that I was not involved at all with any of the conversations that went into either House Amendment 1 or House Amendment 2, or frankly, the original bill. We're $140 billion in debt. I think we need to start from square one.
Okay, we'll look into...
There's a certain amount, we heard people talking about dignity in this state. There is also dignity in not making promises you can't pay for.
So the pension bill, despite Reich trying to table the motion, which means it's not going to be considered, Republicans were outvoted on that motion, but you have... the measure advancing out of committee. They did not advance it out of the House last night. We'll see if they get to it today, and if it's got enough time to pass the House and then get over to the Senate to possibly pass there. But you're going to have some conversations about all of that. So yeah, pensions also on the table. That was a little bit of a surprise for me yesterday, as we were expecting a whole host of other things to pop off, like the transit tax question, which we talked about in the previous segment. But last night, you had energy come up as well, and the House did advance the energy omnibus bill that has more subsidies for wind and solar and battery, and there's concerns that it's going to tack on another line on your utility bill. Now, I'm told that that additional line on your utility bill won't go into effect until a battery operation is up and running. But regardless, a lot of debate about this on the House floor late last night. I think it was like 7:30 or 8 o'clock by the time they actually got going here. Again, here's Jay Hoffman.
Several things in this bill.
Let me get that turned up for you.
3 gigawatts of utility-scale energy storage, which when it goes into effect, would provide low-cost credits to consumers, and this index credits for these projects would get paid if market prices are low and provide credits to consumers if market prices are high. This would provide about 9% of our peak electric use. In addition, we build an estimated 1.8 gigawatts of virtual power plants. We'll incentivize an estimated 1.8 gigawatts for these virtual power plants, which is energy storage, demand response, and other technology at homes and businesses, and this will be about 5.5 of our peak load. We have identified new transmission options. We have provided for an integrated resource planning so the Illinois Commerce Commission could take the lead, like most other states in the nation, for doing long-term planning for our electrical needs, so we don't get in the same type of situation we are in, where our demand is much greater or is as great as our supply. So this is long-term planning we're talking about, where they will make recommendations on how to make sure that doesn't happen. The Illinois Procurement Agency.
Again, Hoffman talking about various provisions of the bill, Republicans pushing back, saying it gives too much power to the ICC to essentially change Illinois' makeup of energy portfolio, and a lot of debate on the House floor. But State Representative Brad Halbrook had some words to share about this particular measure.
Discussion on this measure. Representative Halbrook is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the bill. CEJA and the last few iterations of the so-called energy legislation, the green energy legislation, are not about helping Illinois families. They are a worship service at the altar of the dead green god. We were told about their ideology, but the audits, the rising bills, the failing reliability, and the empty promises speak for themselves. We were promised clean energy would mean lower cost, more jobs, and a stronger grid. They promise a climate salvation that doesn't exist, all the while driving up cost, shutting down reliable energy, and putting our power grid and communities at risk. What we got instead were higher bills, fewer reliable sources of power, and agencies that can't even meet their own goals. Families are paying more every month. Manufacturers are struggling to stay open, and our grid is stretched beyond the breaking point. This bill doubles down on a failed experiment that's hurting everyone in the state of Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not progress. It's a political religion built on failure, and Illinois families and manufacturers and employers are all paying the price. It's time to stop chasing political slogans and start delivering results. Let's stand for common sense and affordable, reliable energy. Please vote no. Thank you.
Despite Halbrook and others opposing this, Republicans obviously in the super minority, Democrats argued for the measure, and it passed the Illinois House. So we'll expect to see that in the Illinois Senate today. A lot of stuff going to pop off. We'll be there on the ground. I got to actually hit the road to get there. So appreciate you guys being here. We'll be back at it tomorrow with a rundown of all that happens. So you may wake up tomorrow and find out that your taxes are going to increase, that pensions might be changing in the future for Tier 2 employees, and a whole host of other things. So go to thecentersquare.com and get the headlines in your inbox today. All right, again, guys, greatly appreciate you being here. And even though it was a late start, got the info to you, and we've got more to tackle. The governor's got a news conference, 2 of them today in Springfield. Then you've got committee hearings and a lot of floor activity. It's going to be a busy, busy, busy day. So we will break it down for you and let you know what you need to know at thecentersquare.com. So go to the Illinois page, sign up for the newsletter, get this podcast where you get podcasts, and you can also wake up with us here with the live program each and every weekday morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, we'll see you back here tomorrow with the Center Square.